Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today is July 3rd, 2024, and I wanted to do a morning update on Hurricane Beryl. I'm going to do a quick update as I am going to be traveling for the next 24 hours, and I wanted to get an update going out simply because Hurricane Beryl is quickly making its approach to Jamaica. We can see Hurricane Beryl here has degraded in structure as of last night. We can see here that there is no clear eye in the center of circulation. However, the winds in Hurricane Beryl have not really decreased that much since last night. Winds are currently at 145 miles per hour, which still makes it a category 4. And Hurricane Beryl is moving to the west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour. That minimum pressure has increased. That shows a sign of some weakening overnight, and the current pressure is about 952 millibars. The hurricane hunters are in the storm right now, and they're making their passes, and then I'll show you what that has been shown lately. So we can see here Hurricane Beryl is slowly, well, not slowly, but pretty much swiftly making its way to the west-northwest toward Jamaica. Now, there is a question as if the center or the main core of Hurricane Beryl will make it onto land. It's going to be a very close call, but all indications do support that Hurricane Beryl will be impacting the island of Jamaica later on this afternoon. I want to take a quick close-up view of Hurricane Beryl to kind of show you what the structure is looking like this morning. And as we can see here, of course, there is no clear eye. The last few days, there's been a clear donut eye that really signified a really intense hurricane. But as of lately, some shear has been allowing Hurricane Beryl to structurally degrade. However, the winds are still there, and the hurricane hunters are still finding winds of category 4 or better. So this is still a very potent and dangerous storm. We can see here that that core, the area of those real strong winds, are located just in that area here, and that core is going to be moving west-northwest. Now, there is a question as though if this center or this core is going to move over the island of Jamaica, and that core introduces a lot of the strong damaging winds that we see with these hurricanes. And there's a question that if that core does make it onto the island of Jamaica, that we may see a lot more damage. However, there is still a possibility that this system may take more of a southerly route, and maybe that core or some of that core misses some of the island. Even though Kingston is located somewhere in the southern portion of the island, it looks as though Kingston will experience hurricane-sustained winds. However, we're not 100% sure if Kingston is going to experience some of those winds plus 100 miles per hour sustained with those gusts into the 150 category. So it's going to be a very close call. However, it is just too close to basically say that there won't be any impacts. There will be impacts in Jamaica. The question is how strong of an impact and how close does that core get to the island of Jamaica. I'm going to take a quick look at what's going on as far as the hurricane hunters and the recon. Currently, the recon is in the aircraft, and they are sampling and they're flying their patterns to basically get fixes on the center and see if the storm is increasing in strength or increasing in wind speed. And it looks as though here that the pressure pretty much is stabilized at about 953 millibars, which indicate that there's really no strengthening or weakening going on currently. Sorry about that. The hurricane hunters are making their way in between the storm, and you can see here that the storm is moving at a west-northwest movement and about 20 miles per hour. So as far as the future track goes, the future track here shows that for the next 3 days, and I'll go ahead and make that 3 day. For the next 3 days, Beryl is going to continue to move west-northwest at about the same clip that it's been moving for the last couple of days. The official track here shows that Beryl is going to be somewhat just south of the island of Jamaica. However, we can see those those tropical force winds extend far out. So the whole island will experience tropical storm winds. However, this little core here is where the hurricane sustained winds are found. Now, if that core or that center is on the north side of the track, we can see here like areas like Kingston will experience hurricane sustained winds. So depending on this track, and if this was a perfect forecast, it looks as though Kingston will experience some hurricane sustained winds. However, they may miss the damaging core, which excess of 100 miles per hour winds are even greater. After that, it looks like Beryl is going to make its way south of the Cayman Islands. However, the Cayman Islands are going to be on the north side of the circulation, and that's going to allow for the damaging winds of tropical storm force winds, the damaging tropical storm force winds to definitely bring their way into the Cayman Islands. And Hurricane Beryl is expected to lose its major hurricane status as it gets closer to the areas of the Yucatan Peninsula. And it looks as though that it will make landfall somewhere in the northwestern portions of Mexico, areas like Cozumel and Cancun. May see some effects from a weakening hurricane once it makes its way into Mexico. Now the big change, or the big situation, is impacts for America, and it's starting to look like those impacts for America are in play. It's not a slam dunk or a guarantee, but it looks as though that the United States are not out of the woods as far as impact goes. I'm going to bring up the full forecast, which brings in the 5-day forecast, and as you can see here, that there is a chance that Hurricane Beryl gets back into the Bay of Campeche and it begins to re-strengthen. You see this goes from a tropical storm status back to a hurricane status, and it starts to bring its way more northwest. Now there is a lot of spread in the ensembles from the American and the European ensembles that shows some areas where if Beryl takes more of a northerly track and it stays a little stronger, that it's able to maybe curve a little bit more northwesterly and may get near areas like Texas or maybe even as far east as Louisiana. So this is a situation that is not completely ironed out yet, and we have to watch some of the developments. And one of the biggest hurdles is today. Will Hurricane Beryl slam into Jamaica, allowing the core to maybe degrade some and keeping that track somewhat further south? A stronger system typically likes to take more of a northerly turn, and a weaker system, because of the height of the storm, typically follows more of a westerly track. So it just depends on what goes on today in the island of Jamaica. That will begin to give us some of the details that we need to know to see if this storm is going to be more so wedged down here in the Bay of Campeche, or maybe find its way somewhere a little bit more north of there where it's able to strengthen and bring its way toward Texas. I'm going to show you some of those ensembles here right now to show you kind of what it's been showing. So taking a look here, we have our European ensembles that show some of the stronger tracks. Some of the strongest tracks take it over the island of Jamaica and keeps it very, very north to where it has limited interaction with the Yucatan Peninsula, allowing it to stay fairly strong and work its way into the Gulf of Mexico and become somewhat of an issue for Texas and Louisiana. So Texas and Louisiana definitely need to keep their eyes on this, as this may develop into a situation where they may have a system coming down the line. There aren't any guarantees. I must stress that, but we have to keep our eye on the weather, and we have to look at the latest details and how everything is going to play out. And you can see here on the GFS, it is also pretty much saying the same thing, where we have some of the stronger tracks make their way north and it gets somewhere into the Texas area. So we're going to definitely have to keep our eye on some of the progression for today and for tomorrow once Beryl begins to make its way from Jamaica and it gets near the Yucatan Peninsula. I'm going to show you what some of the models have been kind of depicting for the last couple of days, just to kind of give you a sense on where Beryl may be going after it departs the island of Jamaica. So we can see here, this is basically at about right now where the Hurricane Beryl is located, just southeast of the island of Jamaica, right around here. And we're going to go ahead and move this out in time. This is the American model as of 06 this morning. And as you can see here, it grazes the southern portions of Jamaica and maybe brings the core of some of the damaging winds just on the southern edge of the island of Jamaica, and it makes its way just south of the Cayman Islands, and it is allowed to just get to the very tip of the Yucatan Peninsula, and it doesn't really lose much of its or any of its strength. Now the hurricane will weaken as it goes into the land areas simply due to friction, but it looks as though that the storm is going to, the core itself is going to stay intact well enough that the system is able to regenerate in the portions of the Bay of Campeche, and then it becomes a problem for some of areas in the United States. Let me just go ahead and forward that for you guys so you can see how it runs. And as you can see here, the storm begins to make its way northwest, and it looks like it's kind of flirting with the coast and maybe making an impact near Corpus Christi or the Brownsville area of Texas. And we can see here, it looks like the remnants are the Invest 96 L also kind of gets in play a little bit as well. So there is a lot to still kind of take a look at, and there's nothing in textbook or in stone as of yet. So if you're a resident of Texas and Louisiana, or a resident of Mexico, the Cayman Islands, this is something that you definitely got to keep your eye on, because these situations do change. I'm going to take a quick look at the European. The European only goes out about 90 hours, so it won't show a system into Texas or Louisiana because it doesn't just go out that far. But we can see here that it makes pretty much a direct landfall on the island of Jamaica, and it works its way west-northwest, and it makes another landfall and near the Yucatan Peninsula, gets in the Bay of Campeche, and begins to somewhat strengthen. Like I mentioned, that this model doesn't go out that long. Actually, let me go ahead and bring up the zero model that was from last night. And that basically kind of shows somewhat of the same thing, but it gets a little trapped. It's not as strong as the GFS, and it gets trapped more into the Bay of Campeche, and it makes a landfall in Mexico. So there are some differences, and there are some disagreements between the European and the GFS model. Long story short, we still have to keep our eye on this system, and if you're a resident of Jamaica, you will be dealing with this system today. Damaging winds, a lot of rainfall, landslides, mudslides are definitely going to be in play here, as a lot of that orographic lift allows some of those thunderstorms to really ring out in some of those mountainous areas that bring some of that rain into the valleys and could cause a problem for the island of Jamaica. So if you're in Jamaica and you're listening to this message, please be safe. Cayman Islands, you will be next in line, and also portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. If you're in the United States, areas like Texas or the Louisiana coast, definitely make sure that you're tuning in and listening to any changes or any developments that may take place with Hurricane Beryl. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.